Okay, here we go. Is your coffee okay?
Lovely.
Okay.
Welcome to Big Questions, Short Answers. I'm Sian.
And I'm Andy, Sian's husband, asking the big life questions.
And possibly adding a little bit of unsolicited advice.
This podcast is brought to you by Sian's value-based online course. Visit sianjacquet.com to find out more. We were talking in the last podcast about relationships and, well, actually it moved on to networking, didn't it, and business. Because your point was that, relationships basically underpin everything. And of course, the most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself, because you have the values and beliefs. So I just want to expand on that, and in terms of how that can, help us to understand the meaning of life, basically.
So I look like Yoda.
Yeah, well, sometimes in the morning. So, let's just expand on that a little bit, because it seems like a very simple process, but one that we seem to be very scared of, or there's a
What is? Be specific.
Well, creating those relationships. People are afraid of relationships.
Are they?
Well, whether it's to do with a romantic relationship, a friend relationship, or a business relationship. I suppose it all comes down to rejection.
Thank you. Right, lovely. It was lovely watching your brain cells work that out for yourself.
Well, let's talk about rejection. Let's talk about rejection and what's that about?
Essentially, my understanding is that human beings need other human beings, right? And that sense of being rejected. School. Let's start with school.
Okay.
Even if you don't have the memory recall to think about being in primary school and, nursery or whatever it is that you started off your educational journey on, if you're a parent, it's a real emotional challenge, isn't it, to send your kids to school and think, are they going to be liked? Are they going to have friends? Are they going to be rejected?
Well, it always starts out, I remember, you're standing in line during break, and want to play football or whatever in the break, and they're picking the teams. There's always the biggest lad who's picking the team, because I was not particularly big, and you're waiting and waiting, and you're hoping that you're going to get picked on a team. You're not going to be the last little runt at the end. Nobody wants. I mean, it starts there, doesn't it, really?
I want to ask you why you're laughing.
Well, what?
Because you asked me about rejection, right?
Oh, yeah.
And again, let me be clear, this is interwoven with my own life experience. I would say that there are people in this world who look at me and think she's a grown-up, right? She's got wisdom, life experience, and there is what she says is valid or useful or whatever. I don't know, whatever, however other people judge me.
Yeah.
But be under no illusion, inside, there is still a part of me, there is a little girl that was rejected, that was consistently told I wasn't good enough, I wasn't wanted, I wasn't part of anything. And I would say that belief and that life experience has a fundamental part to play in the life choices I've made up until now in my life.
Yeah.
I am drawn to the care and protection of children. I am drawn to advocating for the vulnerable who don't have a voice. And it's because of my own experience and because of the beliefs that were given to me by the people who were around me. So let's come back to what you're talking about, rejection. Nobody wants to be rejected, right? Let's just start that as the premise, right? And we learn ways to protect ourselves from that. And we either do it by avoiding being rejected, or you can learn a fundamental self-confidence, yeah? And it doesn't necessarily have to be real, by the way. You've all heard the phrase, fake it till you make it, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And I've done it many times in my life. And I certainly coach people from all different walks of life. Because that confidence to find your voice and have an opinion or to ask for something with the fear of being rejected is a part of the human condition. It's what makes us human. And there are ways of doing it, but most of us have to learn how to do it because we're not taught. Because the way in which they do it in schools is exactly like you said, In fact, when we grow up, and again, there's two sides to that. Part of me literally can have a memory recall of pain at that sense of rejection at that level, kind of, when you're under 12. But then another part of me could put together a really valid argument that life's tough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Get your head around it. It is all going to be about being chosen and rejected. That the sooner you learn, the problem in school is that you don't have any other agency to do anything with it. Yeah. And equally, it's not spoken about. I actually have some pretty bizarre views about how we should be doing it in schools. And some schools do, and some environments do. But it's very hard. It's very hard to protect yourself against that feeling of rejection. And it is so painful and falling into the abyss. Certainly if I talk about careers rather than your personal life, absolutely no question. One of the top 5 things that I am constantly working with people is finding your voice in the working environment to say that this needs to be done, or that you have an opinion, or things like going for interviews for jobs and even applying for them. That whole process that most people go through. I'm not good enough. I don't hit the criteria. Oh my God, I can't sit in front of people and be interviewed. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Unfortunately, I don't have to do it now, but you look at the criteria that people ask for a job on the kind of, online, and you're looking at a job and you look at all the criteria of what they're asking for, and think, oh my God, how on earth does anyone know anything? How can they possibly find somebody that could do all of that?
Well, I agree with you. I do. I very much agree with you. But that's a different issue. That's...
We can talk about that.
That's a different issue. But let's come back to rejection. I actually believe that it is something that as parents and as educators and as people who are the custodians of young people, however you do that, that it is something we should have a very real and honest discussion about. You hear the phrase, they're snowflakes, they've got no emotional resilience. You've got
the millennials.
At least 2 generations that are now being labelled as that. I think there is a ladle of truth in that. But I also think it's about the correction from society, that we've gone from one to the other, and it'll balance itself out and we'll get more common sense in it. That's what I really think. Because I think that, history is moving very, very fast, right? And I was born in 1962. It wasn't until 1964 there were fair voting rights. I know that's a crazy thing to pull out of my head, but it is. In the States, right?
When?
1964.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Within our lifetime, Andy, the world has changed out of all recognition. And this whole issue about, toughening up and getting your act together and all the rest of it. I think what happened was the world was a very tough place, right? And I think for school kids, corporal punishment, most schools performed like factories, and if you didn't fit the mould, you were put in the reject box. My point being, our generation as parents, I think we overprotected, we overdid everything because we could and we thought we should. Our kids are now actually paying the price for that.
Because they didn't have enough rejection.
Well, not enough. Yes, I suppose, but we didn't teach them how to deal with it. We didn't teach them how to do it. Yeah. And maybe it's because we didn't know. And maybe it's because we were a bit frightened. And so we gave them things, and we introduced a space that was about feeling how I thought you felt, rather than teaching you fundamentals about how to be a robust adult.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's been round the mulberry bush all over the place.
Well, yes, it was, but it's quite interesting in terms of summing up. It's about, talking about rejection, but at the same time that potentially it's about learning how to deal with it, because maybe we didn't when we were teaching the kids when they were growing up. Interesting point.
Well, we know stuff now that we didn't know before.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that makes us wiser and better because we don't not all the time know exactly what to do with it. But if you want to survive in the world that I see today, you need to have some techniques and some processes to learn how to manage rejection.
All right. Excellent. Thanks very much. Join us next time on Big Questions, Short Answers with Sian Jacquet and me, Andy.
If you have any questions you want to ask, please send them via the website, sianjacquet.com.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with everyone you know.
We really do appreciate you sharing 15 minutes with us.
And if you want to do a bit more learning, go on to Sian's website, sianjacquet.com. There's a course on values to create the life you truly love. I did it, and it really does do what it says on the can.
See you next time.